Welcome back to yet another throwback episode. This will be Athletes Anonymous presents the fifth down here with the three boys, Jared and Jalen. But let's get to that intro music first. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your co-host, Kieran McKeague, and with me, as always, are my longtime friends and co-hosts, Jared Shirai, Jalen Hostin. Say what's up to the bottom, boys.
You know, Keone,
I don't know.
there's something so sweet every day this week. And you wake up in the morning, you just smell that Lombardi trophy all the way from Kansas City. It's just
beautiful.
So good. So good, man.
Of course, naturally, this is the fifth down, so we will be talking about none other than the great pigskin football, American football, excuse me for all my international viewers. But we got Jalen hosting here. Obviously, your team, they won it. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs, what can you say, Jay? I'm going to throw it over to you first.
Listen, but try to tell y'all all year that this was going to happen, and you didn't want to listen. Some of y'all were questioning things. Y'all were like, oh, this Josh Allen guy surely is better than Patrick Mahomes because he beat him in a regular season game. Oh, Joe Burrow, it's Burrowhead Stadium, all this jazz. All of a sudden, Jalen Hurts' magical run is going to stop the Chiefs from winning a Super Bowl. I said, listen, if 15 is on the field, good things are going to happen, okay? Didn't mean I didn't have a small heart attack in the middle of that third quarter when he decided, or right before halftime, when he made that run and retweaked his ankle. But nonetheless, the boys got it done. I'm sure we're going to talk about the call that was heard around the world towards the end of the game, because why not? It seems
we
can't escape.
I
Can't escape it.
Everybody else is going to bring it up. You know.
More fuel for the whole scripting thing, I guess. That's been the whole bit this whole week. I would just like to point out several things for that argument, though, if we may, okay?
Yeah, of course.
There were blown calls for both sides of the field. Some benefited the Eagles, in fact. The main one being the egregious take-back of that fumble recovery for a touchdown. That would have been Nick Bolton's second of the game. Eagles, you got to gift wrap that one, because I don't give a damn if it's peewee football, high school football, international football, Canadian football. That man caught it, got lit up like a Christmas tree, fumbled the ball, and then recovered it for a touchdown. Period. End of story. I'm really tired.
That would have been your MVP.
Honestly, Nick Bolton would have made a case for
if he had it. That was like that was the first thing that came to my head.
Yes, absolutely.
He would have been the MVP.
Yeah, I no question in my mind, I would have given it to Nick Bolton if he did 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown in the middle of the Super Bowl. That's just insanity. Like, no one does. Who does that? No
one.
So you had that.
But, you know.
Because if that happens, we're not talking about the one at the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
That score is very, very different. So that being said, it was a clear hold. I really, again, the problem isn't the refs. The problem is how these rules are structured for interpretation by officials, because this whole we got to do the process of the catch, and he has to have a third step, and then when you're watching the game, you have eyes, and the slow-mo did not help their case. The man caught it, turned, got hit. That's a football move. I don't care what league you play in. It's a football move, hit, fumble recovery, and now we're not talking about the one at the end of the game. And even if you want to, dude held him. That's not it's not even a question. Dude held him. They got one scot-free earlier in the game that would have kept the drive alive that we're probably going to score on. So there you go. You can cry about it. Yes, the timing's horrible. Yada yada. I get it. If you're an Eagles fan, I do, because Jalen Hurts played phenomenal. Let's just address that for a minute. The dude, I thought, honestly, would not have been surprised if they gave the MVP to Jalen instead of Pat Mahomes in the game.
Honestly,
he
thought
did
the
play
same
so
thing.
phenomenal.
I was like, it might be the first time they actually give it to somebody from the losing team, because he was insane.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it over to you, Jared, real quick, because we're obviously talking about the call. There was the holding call on Juju Smith-Schuster at the very end of the game there. Was it Juju?
Yeah, it was Juju.
Yeah, okay.
It was Juju.
Yeah, so holding call on Juju Smith-Schuster, or it was a holding call on James Bradbury, who was holding, not Juju.
Yeah.
But
Right.
what are your thoughts on kind of the timing of the call? Obviously, there are a lot of people who are just upset at it being at the end of the game and being like, let them play it out, as opposed to kind of making a call at that time. So what are your thoughts on that call in general?
Well, as a coach, I'm pretty sure we all agree this, especially Jalen during the high school seasons. If you're going to call a game and it's going to be called fairly, call the damn hold. Like, it's part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this team's losing, so we're going to not call their doubles. We're not going to call their lists.
God.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's not about giving a fair chance to both sides. Play the game by the rules. If you mess up, you mess up. Own up to it. I mean, he did at the end when they asked him. He said, it was a hold. Like, plain and simple. He wasn't happy about it. He knows he messed up, but he owned it. Held himself accountable. And I think that's literally what it comes down to. I think there's too many times we talk about officiating that people want to see a close game. People want to see a fun game. People want to see a game in general. And if you don't call that hold, then what does it say about you? Like, you got to just uphold your title.
It was all those things, by the way. It literally, like, what you just labeled out, like, it was a great game. It was a close game. Like, it had all the bells and whistles. So really like, it's not like that call. There were so many things before that, but there was to me was
a lot of calls that, like Jalen pointed out, that you could have called, and like there was missed calls. But I mean, that is human error, and I'm glad they got it right. I mean, it sucks, like you guys always say, like you guys said, the timing of it sucks because of the drive. But to Jalen's point, you get all the other calls right. We're not in that predicament where you need to make that call, or it comes down to that call at the end of a game. So, yeah. But
I'm going to ask you a little bit of a follow-up question, because I'm just curious. This is obviously very far in advance, but I'm going to ask you, do you see a possibility of these two getting back to another Super Bowl in the next, let's say, 5 years? Because obviously the span for a football team is a lot shorter than like a basketball team, for instance.
Well, I'm going to stroke Jalen's ego right now and just say, as long as Pat Mahomes on the field, the MVP 2-time already, they're probably going back to the Super Bowl. I mean, you took away Tyreek Hill, and he still got there. I mean, that was one of the biggest storylines that everybody talked about. He still got there, one of the best offenses. And I mean, it's just, like he said, 15's on the field, you got a chance. And he proved that literally in the Super Bowl with a bum ankle. As far as the Eagles go, I don't know their cap space. I don't know exactly what they're doing on the side to keep all these pieces together.
They're going to be losing a lot of guys.
So that in my opinion, like if they can retain those pieces for like cheaper prices or whatever, or like be able to replace that and have the same kind of chemistry, then I think the Eagles get there again. But if the team breaks out, then I mean that's just tough. And to be honest, like you look at the Niners. The Niners just had a bum quarterback in that conference final. And so, I mean, would the Eagles have gone if they had a healthy quarterback? I mean, it would have been a hell of a game, in my opinion. But Jalen Hurts,
bum quarterback is a stretch, because I was like,
my man,
you lost your good quarterback, and you lost your bum quarterback. There. You literally had like the backup.
You were literally
backups.
Putting McCaffrey and a fullback back there, man, because those are the only two that played quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I'm getting back there. I think it's going to be a stretch, like you said, because they do lose a lot of pieces. But I mean, if they can, I think nobody thought going into this season in general that the Eagles are going to be in this predicament at the end of the season.
Nobody would have called. I don't think anybody would have
and they're winning at halftime.
This Super Bowl in general. Yeah, I think a lot of people were saying that it was going to be the Bills' year.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
man.
Everybody except Jalen.
I would like to say that I did peg the Eagles to come out of the NFC, like at least in a playoff fashion, because of their schedule. When I saw it in preseason, I was like, if they get through this terrible season of like their schedule, they will probably be in a potential place to go to a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. And now that I've said my humble piece and I've acknowledged that Jalen Hurts is that dude, we're going to get to some real business, because I thought their defense was massively overrated compared to all the things that people were trying to hype them up to be leading into the Super Bowl, especially their secondary, because who are the best quarterbacks that they played this year? Like Dak Prescott once. And then like
Purdy.
that, you know what I mean? Like that's
Brock
the
Purdy.
list.
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy. That's the list. You know what I mean? Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like, because the NFC is so bad that's what you get. And now guess what happens when you have an MVP quarterback playing against that secondary? All of a sudden, this vaunted pass rush that's so good because they play quarterbacks that are so bad they hold the ball and then they have time to actually sack them, which is why they look so good. That doesn't work when there's a real quarterback playing against you in a Super Bowl. So
say it louder for the people in back, Jay.
You know, it's true. And like, honestly, I didn't think the Eagles, like, I knew Jalen Hurts was going to have a pop-off game. Their receiving core is better than ours. Their third best receiver is probably better than our top receiver right now. Like, that is a fact. That is 100% true. But here's the deal. When you're better at game planning, when you have a quarterback that can actually see the field, it doesn't matter who's out there. As long as they're open and can kind of catch the ball, we'll make it work. And that's what they did. And, like, right now, like Keone pointed out, they're going to lose a lot of those dudes defensively, I believe, as well as a couple pieces from their offense in this next free agency. Meanwhile, all of our dudes were basically on 1-year deals. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling did like a 3-year, but like Juju's a 1-year, Tony was a 1-year. I think we brought in Melvin Gordon, who's just on the practice squad. Like, all those pieces are all 1-year deals. So, like, we can still re-up those contracts with the cap space because we're still heading into that part of Patrick Mahomes' contract that he signed, the big $500 million contract that everyone was losing their minds about and thinking they tanked the team for, which is not what it actually is. Like, it gets better and more team-friendly the longer it goes, and he still makes billions of dollars. Like, that's...
I mean, does it really? I mean, it's
not billions, but, like, I mean, it seems like it, though. It really does.
Not just that, but I'm like, it never... I don't even think that contract ever looked bad. I'm going to be honest.
No.
Like, I mean, at the peak, when the contract was signed, I honestly thought this kid has a shot to be bigger than Tom Brady. And he is showing it, man.
The GOAT,
like,
yeah.
I mean...
And how many times have we seen these teams, like... They do all these big signings and go all in and get to this point for 1 year, right? Meanwhile, here's the Chiefs that didn't do that and went
Shout out to the
other
Rams.
Way. Exactly. What happened to the Rams this year? Where are
not even
they?
Playoffs?
Where are the Buccaneers right now?
They had a worse record than the Steelers, who were rebuilding. So that
right.
tells you everything you need to know.
That tells you a lot.
I'm just saying, like it seems like there's a formula from
Sorry,
New England
Dad, love you.
that works really well, and that's what the Chiefs did. Like, I'm sorry, like that is what it is. That's what Tom Brady has given the league to kind of go off of, and you do things like that for success. We've been to the last, we've been in the 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, 1, 2 of them. So maybe we don't have to sign a, Deshaun Watson, who's a serial, insert word there, to tank your franchise so you can have one good season, air quote, didn't, by the way.
Yeah.
And it just shows like the idiocracy of some of these owners, I think, and how you don't build successful franchises at the end of the day. But I will say Jalen Hurts made another leap forward, and I'm super excited to see where he goes. Maybe he's the catalyst, kind of like Patrick was, that is going to get a bunch of these NFC teams to figure out, like, we need good quarterbacks to compete and, like, make the NFC good again.
Also, I'm going to say for this, I mean, he's not just, I mean, obviously we were talking about how he became a little bit better of a passer. He's obviously
phenomenally better as a passer. Yeah, like, holy cow.
He's obviously ridiculous with his legs, but can we just talk about how strong he is? I mean,
boy is
how many QB sneaks did he convert in this game? Like
5.
I don't know. Weren't they like 37-41? At the end of the game, they were literally like in the 40s, and they only like failed 4 times. Every time there was
I think the
something
first
and one, you knew they were doing it. So
the
first
touchdown or something, like he literally went head to head against Nick Bolton, I think, and like literally like pushed. Oh no, it was against
But Chris Jones tried to jump.
Chris Jones,
and he just like kind of kept falling.
He held on to him. He held on to him and said, "Hey, come along for the ride."
Like,
that's
I was
literally
like,
what it was.
I mean, little known fact for those who don't know, Jalen Hurts got some very strong legs. I mean, supposedly he was squatting like close to 700 pounds in the offseason, like prior to this. So he's just a monster among men. But I'm gonna throw it back over to you, Jared, because there was something that I kind of wanted to highlight that I thought was a very cool moment for the game. Curious to hear your thoughts on it. Obviously, there was near the very end of the game, Chiefs are up. They had to basically kind of run the clock out. Jerick McKinnon, I mean, kind of a little bit of a comeback guy for the NFL. Kind of fell off for a little bit, and then this was his year as far as like revitalizing his career a little bit with the Chiefs this year. Could have had his Super Bowl moment, could have rushed it in for a touchdown, but he decided to be a fantastic team player, keep it inbounds, and down himself at the 1 yard line. I'm kind of curious. What are your thoughts on Jerick McKinnon kind of taking the sacrifice moment near the end there?
I mean, you got to think about it. You don't win a game based off of one person. And I think football, especially football, you embody the team aspect. You don't have a great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes without a great offensive line. You don't, I mean, he's not able to throw the ball if his running backs aren't helping him like clog the middles and get through holes. It's just everything becomes so spread. It's like volleyball. You run your middle because you establish, and then you spread your pins, and then you add that big attack, then you add the little D ball, and then you can run whatever you want after that, as a setter. Same thing. He knows that it wasn't his moment to be that guy. He said, I think my ring is way more important than me scoring a touchdown. I mean, it would have been, because the way Jalen Hurts was bringing the ball down the field, I mean, you're just basically gifting him a free drive to actually come back and try and do something with it. So I think in the team aspect of it, I mean, I thought McKinnon had a pretty good game for the fact of what he was asked to do. And the fact that he had that breakout moment, and he, like, dude, I 100% thought he was going in, and I was like, you should not do that.
For a second, I was like, I don't know about you, but I would have been debating that moment, holding the ball right there, like, this could be mine. But then I'm like, to win the game, I guess. But
he had that. And it was a picture perfect slide too. Slide, puts his foot right on the one, and then catches himself and stops. Yes,
beautiful, very
Sandlot-esque. So I mean, I think at that point, and how big the game is and what it costs, like it's basically a ring or nothing at that point. Then you gotta put your ego aside and do what's best for the whole organization and the team that gave you an opportunity to be the player you are today, basically, because that's, like you said, it's his comeback season. So
yep, exactly. Great point. I'm gonna throw kind of like we're getting near the tail end here. I'm gonna throw another last kind of big shout out moment to your team, Jay. Isaiah Pacheco, man.
What an animal!
Like,
oh my God!
If I'm gonna let you talk on it, because, bro, I don't often get to see the Chiefs play on TV because obviously, regional stuff and all that. But I mean, he can run, and boy, did he just beast it up. But I'm gonna throw it back over to you.
Listen, Isaiah Pacheco is my favorite story of the year, bar none. Considering kind of how, like, where and what transpired and like where he came from. He lost his brother, and then like a couple months later, he lost his sister in high school. Like, you overcome all of that, and then you go and have a great career at Rutgers, and then we somehow were blessed enough to just get gifted this kid in like the 7th round or something crazy. And just to watch him have that moment, and to have Andy really stick with the run like he did the year that we did win a Super Bowl again, and keep feeding him the rock, and he got his Super Bowl touchdown as a rookie. I just think it's a trickle down effect of our ownership and Veach as kind of the GM understanding the process. We had 8 rookies that we drafted, and 5 of them played key roles in this game.
Jeez.
Sky Moore had to play in a Super Bowl.
Sky Moore was a rookie. Wow.
And actually had to contribute. Yes. And he had to contribute in a big way because like we were thin at wide receiver a little bit because we had some people banged up with Mecole Hardman out. And I love Mecole. I remember the good old days of him being the 1-2 with Tyreek, but I think he's probably on the way out because it's just one of those your availability is your best ability. You know what I mean? That's how the league goes. So I mean, just the fact that our secondary was so young and played a pretty good game, and there's several plays in there that you can see that like a year or two from now, they're picking that ball off from Jalen Hurts, and it's not a big 59-yard completion. You know what I mean? They're able to stick with some of these big-time receivers and not overpress and lose them halfway down the field. So like the fact that they were able to hang in against a very talented Philadelphia wide receiving core with A.J. Brown and I forget what his 2 is to that, but
Devontae Smith.
That's right. Yeah. The fact that they were able to hang in and make some pretty key stops when we needed them to make stops was phenomenal. And again, because they're on rookie contracts, they get set up for longer success. And it just goes to show like that it's a trickle down effect. So then getting back to Isaiah, that's another piece that on a rookie contract, we have this kid sticking around who gets to be mentored by Jerick McKinnon, who's an awesome veteran in the backfield and kind of be that 1-2 punch, both really physical guys that can kind of get it done, man. I mean, it was just an absolute delight, delight. And we haven't had a really physical runner like that since Larry Johnson. So it's nice to kind of see us get back to that style of football a little bit as this big, like kind of air raid offense that we've been for the last, 4 or 5 years. So yeah, man, I'm super proud.
You guys are going to be scary, man.
Yeah. I think we got trade bait with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think we got trade bait with a couple other guys.
That's a fantastic point.
We can keep getting better a little bit if we wanted to and keep bolstering that defense. I would like to see us make some moves to put somebody next to Chris Jones. I love Saunders. I do. I think he's great. But I do think there's somebody else that could be that other D tackle and kind of go on there with Karlaftis, who's also a rookie, playing phenomenal.
Jeez, I know he played. Right, oh my goodness, man,
it's crazy. And Nick Bolton's a second-year guy, so like
even commentators were talking about him, and I was just like, it's just crazy that you have so much young. I mean, I don't know if it's a
Spags, man. Spags.
Your coaching staff. I mean, Mahomes. It's just a little bit of everything. You guys got a lot going on.
Dynasty is a word that is being floated around now. And
you already knew where I was going.
Sorry, I'm not going to be abrasive to it. I will say this: got to go back to back. I think until we get that third, that's when it can really start, and we can have those.
This next year, right?
Tom Brady, Pat discussions.
You got that chance. Okay, I'll say this: 2 questions, two major questions. First one. I mean, you kind of alluded to it already. What?
A little bit.
First and foremost, will Patty Mahomes at least be able to sniff those 7? Do you think that he has a chance to sniff that 7? And
100%.
I'm going to say in my head, he could get to 5, and for me, he would be the GOAT. Like, he doesn't need to get to 7.
Yeah, 100%. Though I think he can get to 7. Because I mean, we got to think about like everybody hypes the 7 for Tom Brady, but you got when you break it down, it's 2 completely different eras of football. There was the like three-peat, and then people like to forget there was like a 14-year gap between the next three-peat. Like they were good. They were still the Patriots, but like they weren't going to the Super Bowl for like 10 seasons or like whatever it was.
I argue that the first 3 were defense. I mean.
I could also argue the first 3 were defense. I would say the second dynasty run was way more of Tom Brady being the GOAT because that man actually had to sling some balls. I mean, the Atlanta game, there's no way you're winning that game with anyone else but Tom Brady. I don't care about Bill Belichick. Your defense is whatever. You let him score that many points for him to have to make a comeback. You suck. And it shows now because look at what you're doing without Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So like when you think about it in those terms, like he's in that first chunk right now. So if he can get a back-to-back, then he has that leeway legacy-wise of kind of having to get some breathing room before he chases that next 3 teams, right? Because he's been to 3 of the last 4 in his first 5 years as a starter, which is fucking insane to think about, actually.
Yep. And then, it's funny, I didn't even think about it, so you just said it. And I'm thinking about it. Wow.
First 5 years as a starter, he's literally been to like 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls.
Crazy.
Insane. 5 straight AFC title appearances. Obviously, we won 3 of them. So it's kind of nuts, man.
I'm going to say one more question, and before we wrap this all up, and tidy little bow, we obviously have heard that Coach Andy Reid will be staying on for at least 1 more year. Beyond that, we're not too sure.
He always says 1 more year. I think it's gonna be literally until like maybe a health
Mahomes
issue.
retires,
Mahomes retires. Like, Andy Reid is gonna be out there with a walker until Mahomes is done. For sure.
My last question.
1 more year, guys.
Obviously, we have the course of what's happened up until now. Where's Andy Reid going to finish for you all time?
Damn. Because I don't buy the Belichick angle anymore. I don't. I think 3 years ago, you could have made an argument. It was like Bill Maybe like Parcells and then head coach of the Cowboys. God damn it, always escapes my name.
Jimmy Johnson,
right? Like those guys are kind of in there, but I like after this year, man, with what happened in free agency. Yeah, you have Patrick Mahomes, but damn, man, it's hard not to make a case for him being at least like in that 1 or 2 discussion. At bare minimum, he's top 3 greatest coaches of all time, up there with like Hank Stram and some of the other ones. So, yeah, like
the prestige like, and all the names you just named too is just it's insane to me. Like
because every year that Bill Belichick is going through right now, like he is looking worse. As like it's not looking better in any capacity. He can't decide on an offensive coordinator, which is just a shame because I have a massively hot take how to fix the Patriots, and it's very simple. You go after Eric Bieniemy, you draft a quarterback that can actually play football that's not Mac Jones, and then you can set yourself up for success. Or you can try to make a bid for Lamar Jackson in free agency.
Ooh.
I think that would be a really great way to get ahead of the East.
That is a low-key spot that I don't think anybody has talked about. Lamar Jackson to the Patriots.
Things that can happen.
If there's a guy that would be able to make that trade, it's Bill Belichick. He makes a lot of those, underrated trades. So,
yeah.
Oof. I didn't even think about that possibility, but him going to the Patriots would be kind of dead scary. Anyway,
yeah,
I think that'll do it for us here on the 5th down. This is after the Super Bowl run here. That was a fantastic little, short little, but yet very, very, very supplemental conversation we just had there. I'm going to throw it over to you first, Jared. Where can the people find you, Mr. Twitch affiliate?
Yo!
Yes, sir. You can find us on Instagram and Twitch at JShirai, at JSHIRAI, on Twitter, JShirai808, where I will be playing some Division with the boys. I just got to get my level up.
Yes, sir!
But they did just drop the Warzone 2 update, and so I've been trying to grind that with Keone a little bit. But, I'm only level 1 on Division right now, so just, if we were playing on Xbox, I got a level like 350 plus right there. So
right.
I got to do that PC grind now. So
my boy.
Switching over to you, Jalen. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at @artbyjalen. You can find me on Twitter at Jalen Holston, tweeting about several things, perhaps the Flash movie, perhaps the NFL, perhaps the WNBA. You never know. It gets pretty spicy over there on my feed sometimes. Gotta come in and check the temperature. And then you can find me on Twitch at Mogathanos_LGG, streaming some Hogwarts probably for a little bit longer. And then we're going to be back to we're going to be back to Destiny pretty soon, though. We're 12 days from Lightfall, so it's going to be pretty.
How many hours are you into Hogwarts? Not to just make this on the pod or anything, but
I've beaten the main story.
Have you?
It took me about 40-ish hours.
Just chasing that 100% then. Gotcha.
The game makes you. The last mission, you have to basically 100% the field guide, and then you have to be level 34 to do the last mission anyway. So you might as well.
I made a mistake.
It kind of makes you do it. Yeah.
I made a mistake by letting my girlfriend play, so now we have to share time.
Damn it!
You
didn't make her own character. Like what?
She made her own, but we have to keep. Okay. Because now I got to go back and
trade off.
We only have one system, Damn it!
God, that was a colossal mistake. My
exactly,
friend.
my complete mistake. Anyway, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch for me. That Keone, KAYOHKNEE. We'd like to thank you for joining us on this very special episode of Athletes Anonymous presents the 5th down. As always, it has been a pleasure. It has been a joy from all of us here at Poi N Soy.
Yes.
Oh, good vibes and love. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. It's okay, everybody. Josh Allen's still terrible. Just a reminder.